Hey everybody, it's John. I want to tell you a little bit of what's going on this week for this episode coming up of Camel City Chat. Um, End of September, I was driving home and I saw a friend of mine, Stan Elrod, putting up a campaign sign, and I pulled in behind him, got his number so I could call him up and schedule him to be on Camel City Chat. And on October 10th, Columbus Day, Stan came in and we had a great time. When he was leaving, shook hands, just wished him luck, and he was one of the nicest people that I've ever had on the show with regards to complimenting me and saying what a great time he had. He had talked to his daughter about the show, and we just chatted. As many of you know, Stan passed away last week, and after talking with his family, they agreed that we should air this. And the reason why is because the next hour, you see a man dedicated not only to his family, but to his career. And we hope that this episode will give you some peace and will help you in the grieving process that we all are going through right now for our friend, Stan Elrod. Hey everybody, welcome to Camel City Chat, and I am here with someone that we've known each other for years, and we're going to figure out today how long we've actually known each other. Stan Elrod. Now, Stan, I don't think I've ever been at your desk and been in trouble, which is surprising for both of us. But you have been an educator for years and years and years, and we're going to talk about that. I've got some friends that I'm going to throw up a name here and there and you're going to go, oh my gosh, yeah. Welcome to Camel City Chat. We've kidded about doing this for a while now, and so I got to start off with the first question, and that is, where are you from, and how long have you been in Winston-Salem?
Okay, John, I came from a really small mill town in Whitmire, South Carolina.
Okay.
If you know what a mill town is, all the houses sort of look alike. And
McAdenville's an example.
And everything evolves around the cotton mill.
Right.
All adults, most of the adults worked in the mill.
Right.
So, small town. I tell people my high schools were as large as my hometown.
Okay.
We had about 2,000 people there, but it was busy. Everybody knew everybody. It was a wonderful way to grow up because, you didn't lock your doors and everything centered around either the mill or the school.
Right.
And it was...
So sports was huge then?
Very large, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you came to this area. Where'd you get your teaching degree at?
Okay, that's a good story.
Okay.
And that's how I met my wife, who we just celebrated our 50th anniversary.
All right. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. That's the smartest move I've ever made. Mm-hmm. But I was a pretty good athlete.
Okay.
I was all-state in baseball. I was all-state in football, and I was made one of the All-American teams in basketball. It wasn't McDonald's All-American back then. It was a Sunkist.
Right. I remember Sunkist. Yep.
And I guess my size and all was going to, sort of force me to go play baseball. Okay. I was blessed to have an offer from both Clemson and South Carolina.
Okay.
And by the way, Bobby Richardson was the head baseball coach at South Carolina.
Right.
The Bobby Richardson, New York Yankees,
right.
et cetera.
So you went to Clemson.
I committed to Clemson, and then Neil Gordon, the head basketball coach at Newberry College, called me and said, Stan, I don't have a scholarship, but if you will go to junior college for 2 years, do what you're supposed to do what I think you're going to do, then you can I will provide you with a free education, the last 2 years and I wanted to play basketball.
Right.
So I went to North Greenville Junior College, which is now North Greenville University.
Right.
And played basketball there for 2 years. Was captain of the basketball team. My wife was a cheerleader.
Okay.
Perfect.
There you go.
romance. We got married in between and then of course after my junior college experience, I went to Newberry,
Right.
finished up at Newberry, and we got married between my junior and senior year at Newberry College.
You became a non-traditional student.
Yes.
Yeah, you had to have different living arrangements.
And I'm
all
gonna tell
that
you
stuff.
something. I'm gonna tell you something, John. That's the best year of my life, and I tell people that because all I did was go to class,
Right.
play ball,
Uh-huh.
and come home and be with the person that I wanted to be with.
Yeah.
It was
Newlyweds.
It was yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
we got the point.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's
and,
so
and
cool.
by the way, I just
and everything was and a lot and you had less worried bills because
Well-
you know, in the sense of your education was paid for at that point.
yeah, I was blessed. You know, my mom and dad financially could not have sent me and my brother
Right.
or my sister to school, and if it were not for ball,
Right.
I would have never had the opportunity to go to college.
And there are a lot of people that that is truly. People wonder why people work so hard at sports. I mean, you know, I attended Winston-Salem State for my MBA, and I learned a lot while I was there. You know, as an HBCU, a lot of students that I'm interacting with at that point, they were the first person in their family that were there. You know, that were able to go to college. And, you know, I interacted with the coaches at Winston-Salem State. And, you know, I mean, and Appalachian is totally different. I mean, you know, giving a scholarship out or whatever. But in that Division II realm, I mean, I'll pay 25% of yours. Will that get you to come here or something like that? And there's a lot of bartering and things like that just to get the students there. So to be able to get that 2 years paid for is huge.
Yeah, and I was blessed to have all four of mine paid for. I didn't have to apply for a loan like a lot of our kids do today. And I mean, we started out. She was working. She had she worked for the health department at the time, and like I said, I went to school and played ball. It could not have been any better.
Now, all right. So at Newberry, what degree did you get?
BA in social studies,
Okay.
Bachelor of Arts, social studies.
All right.
Which
then
I
what?
taught. Then I already knew where I was going
Right.
after college. Tom McIntyre, who was a head football coach at Bowling Springs High School in Spartanburg, South Carolina, they were in our conference when we were playing, and he said, Stan, if you ever go into coaching, you know, you got a place here. So it was sort of understood that was where I was going to go. Even though I was a senior in college playing basketball, I knew that when I graduated, I was going to go to Bowling Springs, and I was going to coach with Coach McIntyre. And we moved there. And
Right.
That's where we went. Yeah.
But an interesting thing there is that took a lot of stress off you guys too. 'Cause
Absolutely.
You had a job.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. So you're coaching in Bowling Springs, and then what brought you to R.J. Reynolds High School in Winston-Salem, North Carolina?
Well, after 1 year at Bowling Springs, I was hired, and probably one of the youngest head coaches of a large school in York, South Carolina. Lived in Rock Hill, worked in York Comprehensive High School. I was the head basketball coach there, and first of all, let me make it clear, I was a teacher first.
Right.
Teacher. But to me, coaches are some of your best teachers, to me personally.
And don't coaches afford us the opportunity to get good teachers there too? So if you're a good teacher and you're a coach, it allows a school to find a place for you. Whereas if you were a teacher, sometimes they may not have the place for you.
Absolutely,
Right.
and I've learned that as an administrator for so many years.
Right.
Well, my brother Tommy Elrod, not the Wake Forest Tommy Elrod, but the commercial real estate Tommy Elrod. He played golf with all the school people here every Saturday out at Hillcrest. Mm-hmm. And Bob Deaton, who was the principal at Reynolds High School at the time, was playing with Tommy and said, man, I'm in a bind. Rich Hobegger, who was the head basketball coach and social studies teacher at Reynolds, was leaving to go to Reynolds Tobacco Company.
Right.
And it was like October, and basketball started in November. He said, man, I got to find a social studies teacher who can coach quickly. Mm-hmm. And Tommy said, well, my brother's in South Carolina. He may be interested. You know, Tommy called, and he said, you know, I got a guy up here, a great friend, R.J. Reynolds High School. You'd love the campus. You ought to come up and look. So I asked Linda, I said, You want to go look? She said, no. I said, okay, I'm going to go up there by myself. So I came up to Winston-Salem, met with Bob Deaton, and was so impressed with him and the school that I went back and said, Linda, we need to go look at this place. This may be something we may be interested in. So she came with me the second time, and that's it.
I mean, she's going from the Lower Carolina to the Upper Carolina. I winked when I said that to her.
Yeah.
All right?
She's
So, and that's a big change, though, because I don't think a lot of people know. I have a lot of friends that are in that Greenville, Spartanburg, Clemson area there. There's a lot of pride in there. And, changing states sometimes is not, it's big.
Well, especially when you start your retirement plan in education in one state.
Right.
And, you can't transfer it, or you can, but it's difficult. It's difficult to transfer your retirement from one state to another. So, young and dumb, excited, we took our retirement out of South Carolina so that we could buy a house, a house here in Winston. And I was still young enough, and she was still young enough that we just sort of started over. As far as retirement.
Nothing wrong with buying a house, by the way. But so, that was a big move for you guys. So you come up here, and you're the basketball coach at Reynolds.
Yes.
And I just learned this because I was at a function that Tom Lawson, Tom Lawson has, and I'm sure you know Tom. He, for the Appalachian basketball program, basketball is the only 2-semester sport. So you start in one semester, and then end in another semester. And that's the only, like football is always in the fall. They have other practices, but competition-wise, they were saying that men's and ladies basketball is the only one that starts one year and ends the next.
And they have to be eligible twice.
Right.
In the same year.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't even think about
first
that.
Semester, second semester.
Because grades come out after the end of that first semester that might make them ineligible for second.
And eligibility is done on semester basis.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I can play football, have bad grades, and then I've got a semester to work on it to get them up for the next fall. But if I play basketball, I've got to have good grades both semesters.
And
we as
administrators and coaches, we have to check to make sure that they are eligible twice.
Right.
If you play in a winter sport.
You love basketball, though, don't you?
I have a passion, love it. My daughter, thank God I did what I did, because my daughter and my son, they look at me and said, Daddy, you could have gone to Clemson. You could have gone to South Carolina. Huge schools, huge reputations, and you chose to go to a much smaller school. And I said, best move I've ever made in my life. I had a passion to play basketball, and that's what I wanted to do. I've been told all my life I was too small. And sometimes you want to prove points. And that's exactly what I wanted to do, because, don't tell me I can't do something.
I think the most important point there is y'all wouldn't be here if I didn't go to the school I went to, so let's change that opinion, right?
Yes. Yes. And I was just inducted into the Newberry Sports Hall of Fame last year.
And that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
that's
you.
So cool.
That is good.
And that's 2 years
yes.
performance, too.
Yes.
All right, so I got a second question for you. We got a couple more minutes for our first break, and that's, what's your favorite place to eat around town?
As you get older, let me tell you something. As you get older, you don't do a lot of cooking. Me or my wife, neither one. I do some grilling or whatever, but 25-20.
All right, that's a good one.
In Clemens.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you where we go a lot and order out is just Pete's.
Pete's.
I'm telling you, just home cooked meal.
Go into Pete's and get breakfast. I just sit there. It's clean. It's nice. Like Pete's. There's so many good places along the strip. You venture out towards me a little bit. You might go by Three Bulls.
West Town is out there too.
West
Town and Pete's are very similar.
Yeah.
And we eat out a lot. Well, we mostly order and eat in from out.
I get my hair cut up at Terry's right up the street from Pete's, and it's a great place to stop and get something. And it's going to be good.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And they give you a lot of it too.
Yeah.
In fact, they probably give you too much.
Yeah,
Because it's so good, you want to eat it all, and maybe you shouldn't eat it all.
Breakfast time's across the street, and of course, breakfast time, they got to give you that third egg, and I'm like, but you don't have to bring me that third egg, it's still on the plate. Well, it's there, you don't want to waste it.
No kidding, and it's so good.
And then what do you guys like to do for fun?
I live on the golf course.
Okay.
I play a lot of golf.
Right.
Linda is a readaholic.
Okay.
She loves to read.
A bibliophile.
Yeah. She loves to read, and she's sort of the glue of the house.
Right.
I mean, she keeps the house exactly the way she wants the house.
And lets you come in occasionally?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. How long have you guys lived out in Clemens?
Well, we moved, after the highway department paid for our property, we moved out to Salem Glen.
Right.
And at one time, I was in the Davison side of Salem Glen.
Right.
With all the bedrooms upstairs.
Right.
And we were going to move. We loved Salem Glen. We were going to move because we needed to have some living quarters downstairs.
Primary downstairs on that first level.
And we found a house in Forsyth County that met those requirements.
Right.
And we just moved 7 houses up.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And I not only at that time I was thinking about running for the board, but that was not the primary reason we moved. We moved because we needed to have living quarters downstairs as we get older.
Right.
And it just sort of worked out that not only did we find the house we wanted, but it was in Forsyth County, which allowed me to run for the board.
Right. We moved in 20, and we actually got most of our bedrooms on the main level. One reason was in case my dad needed to come live with us, or that type of thing too. It's just we make accommodations. So
great move.
Yeah,
great move.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about how you got into administration. I think I've figured out another way that I know you too. We're gonna be right back with more Camel City Chat and our guest Stan Elrod. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm here with Stan Elrod, who is a former teacher, former coach, former principal. Were you an athletic director at one point? Yeah, athletic director.
Assistant principal.
Assistant principal.
And even the athletic director for the entire school system.
Okay, so then you'll definitely know a couple people that I'll throw names out on. All right, so when we go back, it's 1981. Mm-hmm. There's a couple places that I feel like I know you from. All right, you were on Jonestown Road area. We had K&S newsstands, not S&W News on Jonestown, but I think that I saw you maybe at the Sherwood K&S back in the day, or the Clemens K&S, because your wife being a bibliophile or whatever, I think you've come in there before, and that's where I may have met you. The other places that I think that we've met, as we talked about, is the Frank Spencer Classic, and I want to talk about that. I called that with a couple of guys from WTOB way back in the day. I don't remember if I was play-by-play or color, but I was horrible at it. But they needed a body, and I was there for that. And then, of course, through the years of being on WSJS with Book Talk and also with Real Estate Radio. And then we have several mutual friends. One, I think, is Marie Furchess.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I've known Marie for years. The other would be Brad Fisher, who's got your old job, I think. Didn't you have that at one point?
I was the athletic director and head basketball coach at the same time at Reynolds.
That's not very smart, Stan. And then, of course, you were over the this little. They built some school out near me. I forget what the name of that was. Yeah. But so let's go back and get to Reagan and things. And when we were on town council, I think when I was on town council, I think that we may have run into each other there. But we've known each other for years. And everyone that I know, I haven't met a non-fan of yours, teacher, student, etc. Stabler's mom used to work at West Forsyth way back in the day. And I mean, it's the teachers that I talk to, you've got a good reputation. And so that's why I've always wanted to have you on the show. And I think it's because of two things. You care, and you put your time in. So you've made the journey. So let's get back to how the journey started. So it's 1981. You come up here. You're coaching basketball for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. And
R.J. Reynolds High School.
Excuse me. R.J. Reynolds High School, because the other coach left and went to R.A. Reynolds Tobacco. See, occasionally I can make a tie-in.
Okay.
So you're coaching for R.J. Reynolds, and you're teaching social studies. When the heck did you decide that you wanted to be an administrator? I mean,
in real estate, that's our broker in charge, and you never want to do that job. So, because you got everybody now. So what was that transition like for you?
Well, when I was in Rock Hill
Right.
at the time, and my friend and I, former coach, decided that if we ever were going to make that move, we had to have the credentials.
Right.
So for 5 consecutive summers,
Oh gosh.
we went to Winthrop and worked on our master's degree in administration and supervision.
Right.
But it took, we were not in a hurry.
Right.
And it took us 5 consecutive summers. So I had that degree when I came up to Winston.
Okay,
in
so you had your
81.
master's degree.
I do.
Okay, wow.
In administration.
So they had their eyes on you almost instantly then, didn't they?
Well, Mr. Deaton, who's an icon at Reynolds High School, I was there for 25 years, a quarter of a century. He was there for longer than that. Mm-hmm. In fact, when I became the principal at Reynolds, I was only the 5th principal in the history of that school, and it was like 80-something years old at the time.
There's a lot of prestige and honor there.
Well, you come there and you stay, and after coaching for 5 years, and something that was unique about coaching at Reynolds at that time, or any of our 5 senior high schools, they were only juniors and seniors there.
Right.
It's only 2 grades.
And see,
very difficult to build a program.
Right.
When you only have 2 grades.
And let's talk about that, because I'm a product of that. So we moved here, and I went to Clemens West for, we moved up here when I was in the 2nd grade. So I went to 3rd and 4th at Clemens, okay? Then I went to 5th and 6th at Brown, 7th and 8th at Southwest, and my mom said, I'm done with this. You're going to McGinnis. And so I was a Protestant going to a Catholic high school. All of the schools that I went to are no longer what they were when I was there. Why, did I ruin them or something? I mean, Clemens is now some business office. Brown burned to the ground, and I was not responsible for that. Southwest is now is now an elementary school, and McGinnis is in Kernersville now. But people don't understand. I mean, we flip-flopped. And so I'll say this, we flip-flopped. I mean, so I was in 5th and 6th grade, I went to downtown Winston, and then 7th and 8th grade, went back to Clemens. And it was the opposite for the people in downtown Winston. They would come to stay in town there and that and back. And that created that Kennedy High School, I guess it was, and then I would have come back and gone to West.
Yep.
And so what was Reynolds' feeder at that point? What was its 9th and 10th? Wiley?
Well, see, the problem is the 9th and 10th then were called high schools.
Right.
The 5 East, North, West, Parkland, and Reynolds were the senior high schools.
Right.
You really didn't have a true feeder plan because they sort of did their own thing.
Right.
At the 9 and 10. And it was very, like I say, it was very difficult as a coach. It was ideal to be a high school, senior high school teacher.
Right.
Kids went home at lunch. I mean, at lunchtime, the only people on campus usually were the teachers.
Right.
Because there was open campus.
Yeah, I mean, if we had stayed where we were in Clemens West, I mean, I would have gone down to Clemens Strip and gotten, McDonald's or something, and that's where I would have eaten lunch and then gone back to school.
Well, think about Reynolds, and you're right here in the middle of town,
right,
in the city, and you could walk to a fast food or get in a car and go wherever. I mean, it was different. Right. It was almost like a college environment.
Right.
When I first got to Reynolds.
And because so I think I would have been, I don't know where I would have gone because I was right on Silas Creek Parkway when you come down, and so I was on this side of Silas Creek, so I could have gone to Reynolds, but I think I might have gone. I don't know where I was going to go.
You don't know where
but it was interesting because you really only had 2 years with the class and then 2 years the next class.
That's right. It's 2-2-2 plan. The
right.
2-2-2 plan.
And there wasn't school choice at that time either.
No.
But there was also the ability to say, hey, why don't you could maybe come to our school, and then that's when it kind of got muddied up. It's like, no, you can't do that, because people were trying to get people to move into their boundary so that you could get that good point guard or whatever on the basketball team too. I know you would never have done that.
Well, it's probably like it is today. I would imagine in your job,
right,
the first question that especially younger parents ask when they're moving into Winston, what about the school system?
Right.
What school system will I be in? And if they have a particular choice, then of course you have to find a particular area that they have to move into.
Well, and that happens all the time. And as realtors, we have to be careful because that can change.
Yes.
So we become the source of the source, but not the source.
I understand.
And so what we do is we send them to the district website. And then, then it's like, what's the school choice thing? And you can explain that to me in the next segment because a lot of people don't understand what school choice means. There's still some other factors involved in it too. It doesn't mean that you can go, hey, well, I live in West, but I want to go to Reagan. No.
It doesn't just automatically.
It doesn't automatically happen. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Thank you. And so, but I'm excited to hear about that side of you too, because it is confusing for a lot of people out there. So when did you become an administrator? And I'm assuming it was at Reynolds because you were there for 25 years.
Yeah. In '86, Mr. Deaton came to me and asked me was I ready to leave the teaching and coaching and get into administration. So he asked me if I wanted to be an assistant principal at Reynolds. So at Reynolds,
how many were there? There were more than one, right?
3.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought there were 3. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I sort of was able to participate in almost all areas of the educational arena at Reynolds High School during my 25 years there.
Right. We had Tricia McManus. I've interviewed her, and one of the things that was interesting to me is when they had a shortage of teachers, she went and said, our administration should go out and teach. So she taught in the mornings and then came back and did her work in the afternoon because it was more important for the teachers to be there than the administrators to be there. And I really respected her comment on that type of thing. And you actually, you've gone back and did some of your old job too when you were administrator. I mean, you coached some too, right?
Once you became a administrator,
right,
your coaching days were over.
Okay, so I thought you at one point had to coach when you were an administrator.
I was the athletic director.
Athletic director, that's it.
And
okay.
the coach.
And that's
one year. That was a tough year.
That's enough to do it, isn't it?
Well, you find yourself not being able to give your total focus to one area that you
right,
want to do. Like if I was a basketball coach, I'd like to give my total concentration on basketball. But as the athletic director, you have the responsibility to take care of all of the programs.
Explain that to people because I don't think people understand that. When you're the athletic director, what games do you go to? By the way, that's a T-ball there because I already know what you're going to say. I mean, it's crazy.
It's really funny. You look at it. You go to as many as you can. You go to a game every single night.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that. And Brad Fisher is one of those people that I've as friends and stuff. I mean, there are only just a few weeks where he's free, and it's whatever that downtime is. But I mean, he is literally in. You're going to a game. And you're making sure that you're not favoriting one game or the other. If the boys are here and the girls are here, and you went to the last boys' game, then you're here with the girls, or whatever works for traveling and things like that, and whatever sport it is. It's crazy, isn't it?
And John, I'm gonna tell you, it is crucial.
Yeah.
It is crucial as an athletic director, but even more important to me as a principal, that all the kids see me outside of that school. That they, I would go to a music performance, a theater arts performance, a band performance. It was, there's so much that goes on a high school campus. But those kids, they expect you to be there. And to be honest with you, as their principal, I wanted to be there.
Of course you did.
And I think that is what's sort of unique about being a principal, especially in the high school. You have a whole new day that starts as soon as the academic day is over. And you really have to have a wife that loves you and understands what your passion is to stay with you when you're very seldom ever home.
We had David Daggett on, and David sat there and said, you can make or break a child's year the first day of school. And that's why he does a lot of stuff with the backpack programs, because you're giving them something. It's a new backpack. It's got stuff in it, et cetera, and stuff like that. I mean, how much do you love what you did for all those years, the fact that you are molding minds, and it's not only in the classroom, it's the extracurricular activities that made the people who they are today.
And when you see them in the classroom, that is one thing. When you see them performing outside of the classroom and you go up to them and say, Johnny, what a great job you did last night, you know, on stage. And, you know, that, they're going, you know, he was there. And then after being there so long at Reynolds, it sort of became an expectation.
Yeah.
It became, you know, Mr. Elrod didn't see you last night. You know, well, that's because I was at
it was my anniversary.
No, it was probably because I was at the soccer match, or
Right.
I was at the lacrosse match, or, you know, it was something that I didn't feel like was a responsibility of mine. It was a passion of mine.
Right.
And there is a difference. I didn't feel like I had to go. I wanted to go. I wanted to see those kids in a different light. And I think that has what has led me to do what I'm trying to do right now.
Right.
You know, you can, what's the old saying? You can take the boy out of the school, but you can't take the school out of the boy.
Right. Yeah.
And they can't take that out of me. I still care about the school system. I care about public education. I care about the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system. And
Right.
and if I can help, if I can continue to help, then why would I not?
Well, I mean, how much has Martin been on the school board helped out? You know, right? Isn't Don?
He's on the county commission.
He's on the county commissioners. I'm sorry. Yeah, but was he on school board first and then went county commissioner?
No, he was a superintendent.
Yeah, right. So he went. Okay, so now okay, how much has he helped? Because I was still thinking of him. How much has he helped our schools by being in the position he's in now and understanding them?
Well, you know, the three funds of the financial funds
Right.
of is, you know,
The county.
federal, state, and local.
Yeah.
And local is huge.
Right.
And the fact that he is in a position that helps support financially our school system is huge. Yes.
I have the right question. I asked it the wrong way, so thanks for helping me out on that. But I
Okay.
mean, literally, no, with him in that position, I remember when he ran, it was big because that's, you know, you're not a prophet. We got to have people outside of our own area there that is, you know, when we do things and it's like, hey, it'd be nice to have a realtor on that, or hey, it'd be nice to have a teacher on that. When you have a former superintendent who was a good superintendent on a board that overlooks in some way some of the funding of it, it's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dr. Martin has been very helpful to me with, you know, some guidance, helping me through this process, because I've never been in this process.
Right.
I've always been in the school building with the kids. I've never been, you know, never run for public office in my life.
Right.
So this is different.
And I want to take a break, and when I come back, I want to hit one more student thing, and that is, I want you, and I'm giving you time, which normally I'll just spring it on you. I want you to tell me what it's like after all of the years in the school when those students come back and they make, I knew I was going to get you, and they make that special trip to say, hey, I just want to stop by and tell you something. Have you got a couple of those stories? And that, you know, a student that was, you just can't believe how things happen and stuff. So you can already tell it's going to be good. So we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat.
They're adults with their own children.
I'm 54.
With their own children.
And we're rolling. So, but I'm 54. And when you said that, because I mean, I remember you being around when I was in school. I mean, I had friends at Reynolds. So, you know, but all right. So we're back. Welcome back. We're in our third segment here. We're going to talk a little bit more about school, and then I want to talk about, you know, something you're working on right now. That it's the craziest thing in the world, isn't it? I ran 3 times for public office, and it's the first time I lost by 13 votes, so you're not going to have that problem, hopefully. All right, so, Stan, what was it like when the students started to come back, and you were laughing because, you know, they're like 50 years old with kids that, you know, were their age when you met them, but talk to me about that, because this is the stuff that I think people need to hear about.
Well, it's really funny. My wife, there's hardly anywhere I go in Winston that I don't hear
Coach,
Mr.
Elrod.
Elrod. Coach, I have
Coach,
heard. Yeah, Coach Mr. Elrod. And they will come up and they will remind me of something that took place that was important to them
Right.
when they were there. It's really funny that one thing that I did in my entire career as a principal, I met with each individual class at the first week of school. You know, I'd meet with my senior class the first day of school.
Right.
Then I'd meet with my freshman class because we need to get them acclimated to high school in a hurry.
Here's the rules.
Yeah. Here's, you're no longer in middle school. This is what you do now. And then I meet with my juniors, and I meet my sophomores. But I meet with just me.
Right.
I don't allow any teachers in there. I don't allow any other adults in there.
And how many people were in a Reynolds class when you were there?
400 to 500.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd always tell them, we would talk about what I expected of them, but more important, what they could expect of me.
Very unique. I mean, that's a very unique concept.
And at the end of every meeting, and I did this my entire career as a principal, at the end of every meeting I would look at them and say, guys, let me tell you something. You're at the age now that you need to start making important decisions, and you can either be part of the solution or you can be part of the problem. Mm-hmm. And I said, you get to choose which one you want to be. That was how I ended every single meeting with every single class for 20-something years as a principal.
Right.
I'd be walking down Haynes Mall, downstairs or upstairs, and I'll hear, Mr. Elrod, I am part of the solution. And we hear it all the time.
Right.
And it has become sort of a Elrodism.
Right.
That the kids still remember, in that moment of time, they still remember. And I guess just recently, this kind of, okay, let me get my head together. I was blessed and fortunate last year to be able to recognize the new Hall of Fame class at Reynolds because they were almost all mine.
Oh, wow.
During my time. So I got to introduce and tell something about them. And one of the young men who has been really successful, he got up and he just said, I grew up in public housing. Mm-hmm. My grandmother raised me. And I never had a father until I got to Reynolds High School. Now, if you want confirmation of why you do what you do, mm-hmm. that moment, and there's been a lot of those moments.
Right.
But
I expect that, yeah.
But, you don't realize the impact that you have on these young people until they get a little older and they come back and they tell you. And I don't ever want us to lose that. And,
I would say that one of the things I was thinking before you started to tell that story is at the point where you tell them solution and problem that you're Elrodism, to some of those kids, it's the first time that an adult has treated them like an equal.
And I know that.
Yeah.
And I know that. And I know that they don't have strong support systems at home. And I know that, that's part of the responsibility that I have. If they're hungry, they're not going to be able to learn.
Right.
If they haven't had any sleep all night long, they're not going to be able to learn. I have to get to know those kids
right.
and their environment. So when I make decisions about them, you have to know more about them than just that little Johnny threw a pencil and hit somebody in the head or whatever. You have to know more than that. And that's what I think I did. I probably didn't do as good a job as I needed to in the paperwork part of the desk because I was out with my kids and I had a fantastic administrative assistant. I had the same administrative assistant my entire career, not just at Reynolds but also at Reagan. She's the only person that I personally asked
right.
to go with me. And she was so good about blocking off and protecting my time with my kids. You know, she knew that at lunchtime I wanted to be out with the kids.
Right.
I wanted to be sitting with them and talking to them and getting to know them getting to know me. And you know, as
Stabler was saying.
Stabler would know,
Yeah.
your principal's pretty cool if he comes sits with you. But
Right.
there's some things you don't talk about. You know your principal there. And
Right.
see, I was smart enough to be able to recognize the key buzzwords. Tan, it's time for you to leave.
Right.
They want to talk. They want to talk their stuff.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about the prom theme. They want to talk about what they're doing after the prom or
Yeah,
something like
they don't
that.
talk
right?
about the football game or you know how math class was today or whatever. It was Friday and
Yeah.
they want to talk about their weekend maybe. But
understand.
I knew when it was time for me to leave.
So one of my friends is Justin Markell, and Justin's over here at Moore, and he just has come from. He worked with John's daughter, son it starts with an S. She was the principal at Southwest, and he was assistant principal. So this is his first gig, and I've gone over to see him a little bit. In fact, I went and saw him on Appalachia 34-32 Day, and all the kids. Yeah, he's a big Michigan fan. Told him Happy 34-32 Day, Mr. Markell. So he's still not speaking to me, but. You know, when I was in there, it was so neat. He was walking around, the kids are eating and stuff like that. And when I talked to, Superintendent McManus, I'm like, start inviting local people to lunch with you and meet them at the, instead of going out to lunch, take them to a school and meet in the school and, do that. She's like, I'm going to look at that because I think that if people see the kids in their settings, it's just, it's such an interesting thing that, we are so fortunate. And the different things that they're doing around with, like he was like, John, we've got some avenues here where we can have a counselor in and kids just need to talk to somebody. Or, you did that stuff because the school system didn't always have that. Now we're starting to add some of those things and realizing that, as she said, the end user is what it's all about. We'll back off of that, but we got to take care of the kids first. And I think you were so well known for caring about kids that when it came time to put the new flagship of all high schools, you were the choice.
Wow.
And that was a hard decision to leave Reynolds. Goodness gracious. I know it was, and I've heard it was. What goes through your mind when Doc calls and says, I got a place for you?
Well, I inherited a wonderful institution. That's what I tell people. I was sort of the gatekeeper of something that was really good.
Right.
And, my job was to not mess it up, to sort of keep it as the school that's 100 years old and that has the traditions and the history, of excellence.
Right.
But, John, I had a long discussion with my family and with some people that I trust that are close to me, and I said, I inherited something, and I guess I've maintained that tradition there. I said, I want to see if I can start one.
Right.
I want to see if I can build a school from the ground up that and make it so that people want to be there, that people want to talk about it. So it was sort of a challenge as much as it was anything else. But you're right, that's like leaving, I don't want to put. I'm trying to
It's leaving your family.
Yes, I was going to say like leaving your wife after
it's
24
getting a divorce.
years.
No, it is.
But it was that difficult for me. And the greatest story about me leaving is I had just convinced Don and Robin Flo to be my new PTA presidents at Reynolds. I said, guys, got to be here. And that was so
Eric's mom and dad said, hey, we'll do it.
that was the first phone call I had to make.
Right.
To tell Don, I didn't want to call Robin. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't want to call Robin. I called Don and I said, and Don is very supportive of the school system and me. And Don said, you got to do what you got to do. And Robin says, you have recruited me to be the PTA president. Now you're leaving. And she still reminds me of that often. She still reminds me of that often. So there's some good things. I mean,
one of your
really
students,
funny stories, great stories.
And their kid, one of your students, he's doing okay. Yeah.
Well, all of them.
Yeah,
all three of them.
Yeah, they're a great family. I just read what was it? They're going to have a high-end restaurant in the building downtown.
Yeah, Don's three boys. I mean, a boy and two girls. Yeah. They did really well. I tell people all the time, they don't understand this. I never one day went to work. Well, I never one day. I loved it.
Yeah.
And how do we get back there? It's important.
That's what we're going to talk about. And guess what? I figured out another place I know you from. So we're going to be right back with more real estate radio. Goodness gracious. We're going to be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I am going to remember that we are on Camel City Chat this time. We did, what was it, a book talk for 5 years on SJS, and then I did real estate radio for 11 years, so it was like, sometimes I revert. But no, I cannot thank you enough for being here, because I know you're busy right now. 2, what the heck are you thinking? There's nothing worse than running for office, but you're running for office, and it's opened your eyes to a lot of things, I'm sure. So I know why you're running for office. I can figure that out in a heartbeat, because you care and you want to be back involved with these, kids and teachers and stuff like that. So, did you pay your wife to let you do it, or what the heck happened here? How did this all get started?
We did have a long conversation. I can tell you, because I was playing golf probably 4 or 5 times a week.
Right.
Spending time with my grandkids, which was priceless
right.
while they were growing up. My daughter, as I said, is in her 25th year of teaching.
Where's she at?
She's at Morgan.
Okay.
She's gone from Old Town, where she started, and I had to brag on her a little bit, because when she was at Old Town as a fledgling teacher, she started a little basketball league at Old Town on Saturdays, and she would use the Rayshon Terrys and the Mike Copelands and my kids from Reynolds to come out there and help coach.
Skills thing, yeah.
And it was huge, and I'm telling you, there were 4 or 5 teams that played every Saturday.
Right.
My daughter. I like to brag on that. My wife worked 30 years at central office in public education. My son worked, I think, 6 years in our school system before health reasons would not allow him to do so. So, we sort of crossed the 100-year mark.
Wow.
In our family in public education.
Okay.
I still see a lot of principals that are working. I still see a lot of teachers, and I talk to them, and they would all go, Mr. Elrod, would you consider being on the board? Would you consider coming back? We need some people who have been a part of our educational system to be involved in some of the decision making that takes place. I never really thought about it, and then I said, if I can help, why would you say no?
Right.
And then it dawned on me, John, I told thousands and thousands and thousands of kids, you can either be part of the solution or you can be part of the problem. And I said, Stan, this is an opportunity to practice what you preach.
Right.
This is your opportunity. Don't have to do it. People, Scott Sexton called me and asked me the exact same question.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Right.
And I'm going, you can retire.
Right.
But you never can stop caring.
No.
And I still care about our school system, and I still, like I said, I have a passion, I have the time, and I think I have the experience to make a difference. And I'm going, why would you not?
I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and I think that being involved in your industry is one of the most important things you can do. Yeah, I sell houses, yeah, I build houses, but I mean, giving back to work to get what our whole livelihood is huge. And, we have Realtors Association, state, local, national, and, giving back and getting involved and helping new realtors, get their feet up, with you, all your experience, being able to come into a situation and not only be involved on the board, but, now as a principal, I now know that I might be able to call you and ask you a question too, or things like that, where before it may have been, well, Stan's, retired, we're not going to bother him, type of a thing. I think it's just a huge bonus if this is something that you want to do, that you do it.
Well, and I have lived what we talk about all the time, the sayings that these are our future, or these kids are our future. Well, I've watched it, I've lived it. My students, and they are my students, are now the lawyers and the police officers and the doctors and I mean the leaders in this community.
Right.
And so I've lived that they are our future, and we need to focus on our current kids so that our future will continue to be good.
Well, your oldest class at Reynolds Senior High at that time, if you came in 81, they're turning 60 next year, right?
There you go.
And the only reason why I know that is I'm 54 and I'm an 86er, so I know 5 years back. I even with Appalachian, I can do math occasionally. But no, I mean...
My granddaughter's at Appalachian.
Yeah, great school. Oh, my gosh. Of course, we only care about 3,333 feet above sea level with 3 national championships, but I would never say that out loud. But no, but it is true. I mean, that's a testament to, having those 50-year-olds come back and say, hey, thanks. Because you may have changed the way a child now is taken care of because you helped their parent understand something back then.
John,
that's got to be changing your mind sometimes.
John, I would tell our teachers at each staff meeting, we didn't have a lot of them, we only had them if we needed them.
Right.
I knew that their time was valuable, I respected their time, but I'd always remind them, teachers probably have the only job in America that you got to start out perfect and get better. Mm-hmm. Now you think about that, because every word that they say to a young person can have some effect on that young person, positively or negatively. And so you are dealing with the most important person in the world to somebody every single day. So it's a daunting task. But I tell you what, it's rewarding.
Oh, yeah.
It's rewarding. There's nothing. I would not have changed anything in my life. I can tell you that right now. I would not have.
It is interesting to go back and see like old teachers. When I was in school, I had a teacher tell me I couldn't sing. I have never really sung much since then. But because I was in musicals or whatever. But the cool one is I got to see Dennis Allen recently, who's our school resource officer at the time, and of course put me in in-school suspension because supposedly I may have written fake demerits to all my friends because I got out of school early one day, and but we're supposed to go to lunch here sometime soon, but I may have done that.
You didn't get an excuse pad too and write some excuses.
I never did that. No.
I've dealt with that.
Yeah. But so no, I would never do that. But it's fun to catch up with your old teachers and now have a different view. Now, at 54, I will tell you something that will make you die laughing. I still cannot go into a teacher's lounge without permission. Like, if you invite me in and I'm start walking in, I will stop at the door and look around and go, it's okay for me to come in here. I still just ingrained to me that was their sanctum sanctorium. That was the teacher's lounge, and you did not go in there unless you were given specific permission to go in there. Because...
I can see that.
Yeah, and then the other thing is when you saw a teacher out. That was the coolest thing in the world. You saw a teacher out and they were having dinner with their family, and you might even see a libation on their table. It's like, oh, they're human. So you're human. That was interesting because you guys are held so high up with us, and it honors me to know that you are someone that are putting yourself out there for this, because you were very good at what you did, and I know that you will be very good at what you will do, but it's still a risk. You are giving back again.
And I will tell you what, I'm not very involved in social media.
Right.
In fact, I am technologically challenged.
Yeah.
My daughter put me up on Facebook to announce that I was going to run for the school board. And one of the best comments that I got was, "Is this the son of Mr. Elrod that was at Reynolds High School?" And so somebody wrote back and said, "Nope, this is a real thing. This is a real thing." I guess they probably see me as ancient,
Well,
and I understand that. You think about it now, my kids are 60. I'm talking about, kids
Right, yeah.
that I had in 81. I mean,
So now if I'm doing this, so you graduate from college, it's 4 years, and then you got another 5 that you were in South Carolina supposedly, so you're 9. So you're 68 or 69 now?
I'm 71.
Okay. You don't look it, you don't act
Well, you're
it.
very kind.
No, I mean,
and I don't feel it. Except my knees and my shoulder.
You still shoot some, don't you?
No, I play golf. It sits on the tee and you ride around and chase it.
Right. So, all right, but yeah, you're okay, but your kids are turning 60. Yeah, you're first class. Mm-hmm. And you're inducting them into the halls of fame, and you're getting these you've put yourself out there and are getting compliments back as though, some of the stuff you're hearing you may not have ever heard unless you were able to hear your funeral. I mean, it's got to be very rewarding to have these accolades and these comments while you're able to participate.
And in social media, I had one young lady from California who said I failed her.
Right.
And I try to, and I am so focused and conscientious on my students. I'm trying to figure out what happened 20-something years ago. I'm just going to tell you. Yeah. But it for 99 people that say, "Mr. Elrod, you helped me," that one person is in my mind. I'm going, what could I have done? I still say, what could I have done better? Which is okay.
Right.
It's okay because you learn from your mistakes. I don't remember the situation that well, but obviously, one thing I do know about young people, if they feel that, it's real.
Right.
It's real to them.
And so this is now why we're where we are today. So now if you failed 1 out of 100, the next time you're now going to fail 1 out of 200 or 1 out of 500 or 1 out of 1,000. And let's not put all the onus on you, okay? I'm going to pull that off of you because I have some similar things in my life of what happened, what did I do wrong there? And it still eats at me. There are about 3 or 4 people that what did I do wrong there? I think that's human nature. I also think that it's an extrovert that cares too much. Welcome to the club, right?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is as an extrovert, we're also introverts in that we're shy as well too, and we've got to recharge our batteries and things like that. Because your job was you were always on stage, and so the coming back to your home was with your bride was to recharge and be, hey, you may be superstar out of here, but you need to fix that and do this or do that type of thing, and you're my partner. The biggest thing that before we go to closing is for me to ask you is not at your demise, because I think you're going to be here a long time, and I think that you're going to be successful in what you're doing right now. But what do you want to be remembered for? Because I mean, you have had an impact on so many lives. 2,000 people for how many years now? I mean,
34.
Yeah.
I want them to think. I want them to believe that I was genuine.
Mm-hmm.
That that I was very transparent. I truly cared about each and every single one of them. Their uniqueness. A lot of kids have, they're just unique in their what they do. And I loved my job. I loved it. I never, ever went to work a day of my life. Kids or I just love being around them. Maybe that's what keeps me coming back, because I never want to let them think I gave up. I'm giving up on them. I will fight for them and fight with them until the day they put me away.
You know, I run into so many people that have had you in some, capacity, either the coach, the student, or the principal at both the schools, and I can only hear great things, and I wish you the best of luck.
And the bottom thing, John, is we've got to find a way so that more people want to come back into the teaching profession. Right now, we are losing teachers left and right. We've got to do something and do it quickly to attract and retain quality teachers if we want to continue to have a quality educational system.
And that's a whole nother subject, because it's not only is it pay, it's protection too.
It's respect.
It's respect. It's huge. And so I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank Jeff Smith with Smitty's Notes. He's one of our sponsors of the show. I cannot thank you enough for being here. You're a great guy, and I really appreciate it. And thanks so much. We'll be right back next week. I think we've got several coming up, but we'll be back next week with more Camel City Chat. Thanks to our guest, Stan Elrod.